excuse me, a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, a former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence to Corrupt Organization Act, non-verbally confirmed and demonstrated a bunch of things to me and collusions that had been timed. These are also people that have been faking conversations with me, including medical families I recorded, also with judges and prosecutors, family members, and those of police involved with child abusers and names that were at in our elderly homes and veteran homes and interstates and at prisons. The prisons have been collusions and predicate acts methods with at locations like next to body dumping spots, next to crime scenes and at them, and with their criminals and patients after they catch them, even when they're and as collusions to keep their mouth shut about things, because this is a complete predicate acts with facts method roles. That is one of the things that slavery is about. For example, I'm not a lawyer. The slavery is about a predicate acts with facts method, and the difference of that or criminal insidiousness nature, the delivery system method, and like for example with treatments and uses of the words like research or evidence. The breaching method showed our prosecutors and judges that they need to hide where and how they are actually valued. And to an extent, they could know that is at least plausible that and how they could have been collusion slash S their entire lives increasingly being used and having been used to keep other things, others ourselves, blamed for things that nature itself is showing us to blame on a human factory nature breaching method, and that America's founders themselves communicated for us to blame on a human factory nature breaching method. When people observe this, shown by nature and our founders themselves, they can observe that where and how other things, others ourselves, are and roles with that leverage, roles with identities of integrity reliant upon that being and having been, relying upon the nature of the debate, like for example, regarding the significance of the past. No, while there are language classes, I mean, there the sciences classes are every day. There are constantly kids needing to learn about history, let alone about history not tactically distinctly. What they need to remember about it and understand about it is and appreciate about it is tactical artillery from styles A through Z, as voices A through Z. Otherwise, that body is sensed, even if it is a majority of people as a body, even if it is everyone. It is this is relativity to where and how humanity's name is being and haven't been used, leaving out how we have black people's right to survive, and simultaneously leaving out how the breaching method employed other to be communicated for that. Otherwise, that body is sensed, not leaving out how nature uses black people's white survive, showing us its complete identity. As you want the parts of your body showing your complete identity, the identity of all space slash existence. Wants our complete identities showing its. But you guys have worse than obfuscation roles of that predicate acts with facts delivery system method against us all, let alone where and how it is most concentrated, where and how it is a difference is racketeering method force demonstrated by nature. Because nature shows us that we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time. Nature itself, its body is showing us about difference. It is showing us we are a different species body than the other species bodies, distinctly, but also non-distinctly, and simultaneously, but also for that which is not them nor us, further hyper simultaneously. So to speak, we don't have to agree to call it the hyper simultaneous, but we have to agree there's an identity of value, its identity relationship to itself, and the value of that, which is not how and why we have two eyes alone, and other even fish have two eyes. In other words, there are things that are not theoretical that are pretended theoretical because of all kinds of behavior racketeering roles in nature and methods of education replacing and having replaced while having valued having been replaced. The short words, let alone the projection, the protraction of our founders and regarding the founding plan, that which was used to force the Declaration of Independence and to force the Constitution and to force it to have the language with us with the objective to get it unabridged and with us with the objective not to blame it on abridgments as collusion because our abridgment roles were sustained, having been sustained, only allowed, only fathomable, only permitted. And then America's founders were born. Had sickly, distinctly, but also sickly, non-distinctly been sustained against Native Americans and on colonists, and the difference of that was exploited by the breaching method too. And then inter and intra tribes, it measures and maintains not one voice. Brings up how we have black people's whites of eyes and a breaching method assigned to other and rolls with it here. Everyone wants to fight to keep it white or black. The white man, the white and black international police forms, overt criminal enterprises and private ones at the same time. Black pupils. Here, see whites of eyes. We have to focus on the predicate acts method itself. Who denies that? So we need a who disbelieves act. And increasingly, the prisons had roles with the torture, extortion, slavery method, and they have roles with our intelligence communities. Increasingly, a Joe DeMauro and a Ray Kalal recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's a guy with the name Dave, who's also involved with the with judges and prosecutors before the World Trade Center attack, who were planting evidences, roles, where and how this breaching method makes collusions at all locations and online and relative to it, because they also who was guilty, they change it, fake it, and with a whole bunch of different countries of the last time, Connecticut intercities and intra-cities and intercultural and intracultural. A whole bunch of people. It's concentrated with people. There's a Lance Cuddy involved with a Daryl Sullivan, involved with more educators. The more educators involved with them on off the state corrections offices, with the World Trade Center attack through other natures of organized crimes, as people supposed to counter crimes, where and how they have differences, rackets with people who speak for the law originally and still. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions are fact, human nature, qualities, aspects of nature, for the breaching methods, uses of styles of debate, nature of debate that contain quality aspects of nature, roles with its breaching method with all sides of criminal and civil cases in the court's names themselves. And the difference of that or the intelligence tied to them, or their family members and neighbors. I forgot his name, but one of the people with Fox Connecticut News has one of their announcers has a neighbors involved with nursing, and nursing has all kinds of criminally foreign influence roles with the databases involved, and campuses, their roles with fire campuses. Russians and Americans have been planting evidences with people from Hartford Hospital involved with fire campuses, involved with the Leahy family, with some judges and prosecutors who've been planting evidences on my street with people from other areas since I was a kid. Fake ties and fake natures of ties to me. They have time collusions with a hyper foreign. They're not just other countries involved. Joe DeMauro said he's got Koreans involved. And they demonstrated both him, Joe DeMauro's understanding the extent of it, and his family members, like a John DeMauro's involved next to the state education department with it. A whole bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, have roles with foreign and domestic intelligence and interbranch family members and people tied to them next to the state corrections, judicial, and educational department who have time rules of predicate acts with federal evidence of crimes at locations that are involved also at all sides of criminal and civil cases and interbranch at the same time and intelligence tied to them and news planting the same sequence shifts. It locks people needing to hide live progressions in the past further at other locations slash S. It's something to do with their locations next to the news locations too. Concentrated next to Fox Connecticut News. With people involved with all sides of religious locations. And all along Route 3 with people involved with DACA. I never had Mr. Weir, I never had a personal conversation with him. Barely at all. In other words. Has something to do with people with the name Finelli, also with interstates and the name Domain. Involved interstates with intelligence, also next to Fox Connecticut News. All kinds of scams with medicine, with psychiatry, and ones with the intelligence there with badges. There are people with the name Chris White. There's a Chris White. I don't know him. They try to make a fake exception, fake ties with me, with a Ray Reynolds and Eric Jensen. There are state police families involved with foreign countries, foreign and domestic military involved with the World Trade Center attack, and intercities with cultural rackets and names next to high schools and child schools and medical campuses that are also KKK, Black themed, Latino themed, Los Solitos themed, other mafia themed per themselves too, right on Facebook. And right with the television, the difference of that. These are also people with the public television involved with the Russians and Wethersfield town offices, further with people involved with this. And there are unions and the names next to the unions, the difference of the guilt there or there are next to it, as ones at campuses and between them stacking predicate acts with facts. Currently foreign influence. A critical thinking teacher I had was influenced to bring up the infrastructure of his home before the World Trade Center attack. Central Connecticut State University in New Britain Connecticut had roles of the World Trade Center attack. Also with judges and prosecutors and their family members, including victims advocates involved with collusions at crime scenes and with the differences rackets. Again, nature itself is showing us it's different increasingly with every subject as that identity. That is why and how we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time. And nature's identity itself teaching us about difference. But how it is even gotten away with this replaced. Oh, peace. So in other words, there's a constant idiocy that is simultaneously with the criminally foreign influence sophisticated part of it, where people with psychiatry and the law at Hartford Hospital and the security there and foreign and domestic military and Coast Guard people too, where they have collusion /S increasingly with their roles with fire departments, family members too, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, rackets with all natures of words and phrases, like hearsay, and pretending other people do, because the readings open, we know about the law. The breaching method showed them already they need to hide collusions with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases already. And the news at the same time, and the crime scenes per worst names involved. Marked Violet and said that there's and people with the name on. I don't even know their name. Has something to do with the Brian Bonin and Middletown locations with Koreans that I never had a word of conversation with. Never inside a house with them. They were influenced to make a fake exception of me being in their presence. That is in demonstration of the same thing. I don't know them. I don't even know their names. In other words, is one of the things And they bring up all these different countries and criminal enterprises and police forms at the same time. Jeremy Grohl is also one of the ones with the intelligence next to the state corrections offices and 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike. Who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with force, tricked, hurt, and persuaded to collusions with family members that themselves are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed as collusions with judges and prosecutors, family members, and with child abusers, leaders of kids years apart. I never had a class with a Jeremy Grohl in my life. He's involved with people on Elm Street and Rocky Hill through time, and involved years before the Wethersfield. Mazzucato Bakery was there. They were involved with, even before Facebook was there, they were involved with predicate acts with people associated with Facebook, too. Involved with them with further predicate acts with the principal upskirt nature and more medical and sexual offenders of kids involved with that. There is further a Phil Cololo and some Latino guy I don't know the name of, and others I don't know the names of. Some of them I know the names of, like a Joshua Julian, further involved with violence on my street and pretending others simultaneously. Also with planting evidence on all sides of my house through time. Phil Cololo also has collusions with the his cousin having put the salt and made confessions about his 5th grade teacher involved with it, and military. And these are also people with the name Burstein with the New Britain military, with his kids and himself. Involved all exceptions, like when I hit the kid with the stick. That was after he pointed the stick at me, no. And they were already involved with fact-cheating nature predicate acts, with murders involved, too, increasingly. I don't know if they were involved at that time, but in other words, some ways I do, because it was, in other words, the interbranch are sensing who's going to speak about American history, about that clearer than day, sickly distinctly against, but also sickly non-distinctly against Native Americans, colonists, and early states, and still clearer than day. There's still a breaching method here. It's the same one at countries A through Z. That's why in Russia and America and in Ukraine, they still have the suburbs almost exactly alike. And that was forced before America's founders were born. They communicated for us to understand this. They communicated for us to understand a breaching method was involved here. Right where that's of value, other things others themselves are forced to pretend it. It's not just that they're psychopaths with sexually conversations with kids. They're replacing American history roles sickly distinctly at campuses A through Z too. And the news has collusion/S with it. WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, and WTNH. They have roles with foreign and domestic military with identity thefts and frauds all along Ridge Road and other conjunctions to Route 175 or Route 174. I don't know. I think it's Route 175. I think it's Route 174, actually. But from Old Wethersfield founding locations. And these are people, too, then they try to hide the exceptions. They know that that's why I went on Wells Road, Cross Automotive, because people associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in courts recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They had people planting evidence sustained, involved with all sides of my house in the area, with judges and prosecutors involved with and people with foreign countries. I never saw an Eric Jensen on my campus in my life until I was in high school. And that campus had him recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with people all along the Berlin Turnpike and people that lived near me on both sides of my house, planting evidences with him through time with state police. Increasingly, people make confessions about that. These are also people with the FBI and courts with predicate acts methods clearer than day recorded, and delusions as evidence as Black peoples. Forgiveness is so we don't leave out the breaching method involved with this, and them and each. or they sense that body, including if it is majority of people, including if it is everyone black pupils, any grouping of nations. It's going to be a little style of individual voice. It's still entertaining locations, areas, and states how they are. They're not going to make it. Power and might is led by its conversation. It's the three ways we know: finite, grouped, and simultaneous. But it's also / hyper-simultaneous. As that which can be used, that which can be used to make evolution's fruits, gifts, means out of nowhere. Not just physical, especially not just physical. While it tortures us, hurts us. Look at the whole entire sea is polluted. Black pupils. 10.